Hey guys, I'm Jen. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today we are doing the Romance Journey book tag. Alright, yes, another tag video. But A, I just really like tag videos, and B, I'm really excited about this one because this one was in a collaboration with many booktubers that got together. Each of them asked a question and they put it together into this book tag, and I'm really excited about that. So of course I will leave everything linked down below for you, the questions and also who the question is from as well, so that if you would like to do this tag as well, please feel free, tag me so I can go watch and give some love to you as well. But let's just go ahead and get started, shall we? Okay. So our first question is, about how old were you when you started reading romance, and do you remember the first romance you read? This is by Beccie. Okay, so let's see. How old was I when I first started reading romance? This one really doesn't have a concrete answer because I do remember, like, growing up, I would read books that maybe constituted as romance or like a contemporary romance, or maybe wasn't like a full-on romance, because I believe that romances are considered romance when like the main plot is around two people, or like 70% of it is romance or something. I don't know the logistics of that, but I do remember reading a few books that were geared towards romance. I never really gravitated towards that growing up. I always gravitated towards the suspense and thriller and the mystery of things, you know, like Nancy Drew. And of course that grew over time, and I was able to read, you know, more advanced and more adult like thrillers and suspense, and I really enjoy watching that type of stuff on TV as well. So like that was just an easy avenue for me. But I do think that it was more of like a happy accident that I would put a romance in there. I never was like, I'm gonna go for a romance, I think. I do also remember that when I was in college, one year I had a summer job where I had a lot of downtime. I basically just sat at a desk and waited for somebody to hand me something to go run an errand for. So I had a lot of downtime, and I was able to read. So I remember I subscribed to this book club, and one of their first like big promos was, if you sign up, you get a really substantial number of books for like a penny a piece. And so essentially, like, I got, I mean, it was like a big number. It was like 10 or 15 books. So I was able to peruse their stock, and they did have a lot of more the contemporary romance style. So I did read a bunch of that year. But again, that wasn't like, ooh, I need to read romance. It has been a very recent revelation that I have just completely immersed myself in the romance. And I also remember, like, I feel like this was a foreshadowing moment for me that I just completely missed. But while reading the books that I used to read, with the mysteries and suspense and the thrillers, all that, whenever there was a romance aspect in it, I really liked that. And I never put two and two together of maybe I should read more romance. But there is my answer. I know it's not a really roundabout concrete answer, but it really was a happy accident. Question number 2. Did you deliberately seek out romance, or did you stumble upon it, and how? This is by Crystal's Bookish Life. I kind of just answered that for you. It was completely stumbled upon. I think it was a natural progression for me to get here to romance, but it wasn't something that I sought out. But regardless, I am super happy that I did stumble upon it, because look at where I am now. I never would have started this booktube channel if it wasn't for romance, and just how hard I fell for it. Pun intended. Question number 3. Did you start with traditionally published or indie, and has it switched? This is by Ruffalo Reads. Definitely traditional published, because I didn't even know what the difference was between traditional and indie until very recently again. I could have probably read indie in the past and just not known it. But when I really started reading, and this is just anything that I read, even, you know, when I was really young, we didn't have the internet when I was that young. We didn't have social media like we have now, so it would have been really hard for me to find the things that I can find now. And I feel like it wasn't as easy for indie authors to get to us as it is now. However, now I definitely read more indie romance. Is that part of the question? I can't even remember anymore. Yeah, it has switched. I read both traditional and indie. It just happens that my tastes more align with the indie. And I don't think that like I sought that out either. It's just that's where I'm at. I pick up a book that sounds good and I go with it. Yeah, it definitely has switched. I definitely read more indie, but I do read both still. All right, question number 4. What was a romance trope you were afraid to try but ended up loving? This is from Honest Fiction. This one's really hard because again, when I started reading and before I even really delved in too much into the romance and then like went off the deep end into social media with romance, I didn't really like I knew what it well, yeah, let's just go with this. I didn't really even know what a trope was. Of course I knew like, ooh, I like this certain aspect of a book, but I didn't realize like that's called a trope. Y'all, I was when I say that I was a like booktube newbie or a reading newbie, even though I read for most of my life, I wasn't well versed in, I guess, bookish language. So yeah, I mean, like this is really all a learning curve and a learning experience for me, and I'm absolutely loving it. But I just didn't know like, oh, this is specifically a trope. This is what this is called, and that's what it is, and this is what I love. So was there one that I was afraid to read? Let's see. Honestly, no. There's nothing that I really shy away from. You know, there might be something that I'm just like, not really into that. Like that doesn't pique my interest as much as other certain tropes. But as far as afraid to try something and then ended up loving, no. But I will say, like, I still get secondhand like embarrassment and anxiety when it comes to the love triangle trope, because I feel bad for one other person, especially if that other person is like decent. If they're not a complete asshole and a douchebag, then you know that you're rooting for those other people. But if like the two people that are the love interest are inherently good, like I just get such anxiety because I'm like, what if they don't pick the one that I like, or what about this person? Can something good happen to this person? So that gives me like a little bit of secondhand anxiety. But again, it wasn't like a hate. So I know that really doesn't like answer this particular question, but that's just the answer that you're gonna get. So let's move on. Question number 5. Is there a romance book you read early on in your journey that you would rate differently today? This is by The Love Librarian. This one is a little hard for me. So I feel like there are actually many books that I would probably rate differently now, just because I have evolved so much as a reader the last few years, and I have read a pretty good spectrum of books, tropes, subject matter that I didn't read back then. So yeah, probably some Colleen Hoover books because I feel like when I really started reading romance, she was one of the ones that I read the most. So I feel like, yeah, if I were to read one or two of hers again, I probably would rate that differently. What else? The Twilight series, honestly, I feel like I would rate that differently. I know I've read that entire series at least twice. I may have read it 3 times, but I do remember one of the last times that I read it, I remember thinking, this isn't as highly rated as I would have rated it the first time. There were some issues that I had with the book for sure. So, yeah, there you go. That brings us to question number 6, which is, how has your taste in romance evolved over the years? This is by In Love and Words. How has my taste evolved? Dramatically. I read primarily suspense and thriller books with maybe a love interest in it, but it wasn't a prominent point of the books. And now I read predominantly romance. I read very spicy romance. I read dark romances and even contemporary romance thrown in there as well. I do gravitate towards a particular kind now, but I really do like the spectrum of books. I still enjoy a suspense every now and then. I've really been looking into reading some more romantic suspense books. I think that definitely is an area that I'd like to explore a little bit more. But I really am drawn to the innards of a relationship and how the characters navigate and what they do. I really love the storytelling and how we get from point A to point B. And I think that's another reason why I just love forbidden and taboo romances so much as well, because there is that push and pull, there is that angsty, just drama filled. I love it. I love it. Not in real life, but give it to me in a book and I absolutely love it. So yeah, my tastes have definitely changed. So question number 7. What is the most powerful romance that you have read that left a lasting impression? This is by Kaylani Simply Me. Am I saying that right? Kaylani Simply Me. The Off Balance series by Lucia Franco has impacted me. These characters are flawed and they go through some shit. I think it left such a lasting impression and impacted me so much because not only do I just absolutely love this entire series, but it made me feel so much. You know, the anger that I felt amongst every other emotion that it made me feel, but that anger, like, I can't remember a book prior to reading that made me feel those types of emotions and so hardcore. Also, you're in it with them. Like, these are your people. And to see them come full circle and make it to the other side the way that they do is just, it's so meaningful. Like, feel like we as readers, we understand that because these characters do mean something to us. In that same token, I do have to give a shout out to the Boys of Toman series. This series, like, I legitimately think about this series and these people so often. I can't wait for more books, but these people have just left an impact on me. It may be also that I constantly am listening to playlists from the Boys of Toman, so like that doesn't help, but I'm in it. Like, I'm in the fields with these people. What else? What else is another book that has given me Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman? That one did something to me, y'all. The heartbreak there, the bond between those two, the healing that took place, the sacrifices, that book shattered me and put me together. And then if we're going on the same vein as emotions, I have to mention No Tomorrow by Carrie and Cole. Oh my god, this one wrecked me as well. Blue Story is so powerful. It definitely is very impactful. I think the struggle with mental health and self-medicating and drug abuse, and it is very synonymous with people who do have and struggle with a mental disorder, because sometimes you don't know what's going on. I think there was a great representation with this book, but also you're getting this really powerful love story. Really great. So yeah, there are a number of books that have impacted me. Like, there is no way that I could have just picked one book, but here are some great starters for books that have really, really impacted me and left a lasting impression on me. All right, so question number 8. What was the romance book that told you this is what I am looking for in my personal life and or partner? This is by First Lady Reads. Um, okay, so I feel like I can't really answer this question accurately or the way that I probably should, because I wasn't a romance reader when I met, fell in love with, and married my husband. So there wasn't something that I could look at and say, there's a man, scope that out. I was already tied down when I started reading romance, so that's really hard for me. But I do read a lot of books that show me what I definitely do not want in a man. Just because I love to read about it does not mean that I want it in real life. But they also make me feel like really lucky and proud to have found my husband and have the love that we have. But a book that encompasses a love that I want or love that I have, really what I love is a man that stands up for his woman. Not necessarily touch her and you die, because like in real life, we can't be acting a fool, but stick up for me. Even if you know that I'm wrong, you can tell me so when we're alone, but you stick up for me around people. Couples who are hot for each other years later. Um, I don't know. You know, the good shit. I don't know. I don't have a book for you. Let's move on. Question number 9. Which romance books would you recommend to a romance newbie and a seasoned romance reader? This is from Ava's Romance Books. Alright, so newbie. I would recommend Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. I would recommend the Chestnut Springs series by Elsie Silver. You really can't go wrong there. They are so easy to get into. You look up and you're 40% into the book. They are spicy, just enough spice, good spice. They are just a good, well-rounded book. If we're going the YA route, I would go with the Vampire Academy series because, and I've said this before, it is a little bit fantasy in the real world, and I like that there is a little bit of world building, but it's not complete dive into fantasy where you are like, I need a map of this world. But they're just like really good reads. They're quick as well. The love interest in them is for the seasoned reader. If you want taboo, you can't go wrong with my girl QB Tyler. Just pick any of them. I would start with like Unconditional or Love Unexpected. Yes, please. If you want something steamy with great plots, and great characters, I would definitely dive into the Salacious Players Club by Sarah Kate. Hot, yes, you can't go wrong there either. So question number 10, also known as our last question, is in your eyes, what are 3 perfect romances? This is by Sam Reads a Little. Damn girl, you gotta like blow out with the hard questions. Okay. Shit. 3 perfect romances. Well, this is probably going to be a little bit repetitive, but this is my romance journey, so here we go. Shout out to Johnny and Shannon from Binding and Keeping 13, the Boys of Toman series by Chloe Walsh. I love Effa and Joey, but there's something about Johnny and Shannon that just have my heart. Maybe it's because they were the first, but Joey and Effa have a completely different romance, a completely different story. Johnny and Shannon's, there's just this pure aspect to it, and it's something that I just want to like covet and put in a little ball and keep close, and I love their romance. Number 2, Don't Kiss the Bride by Carrie and Cole. I absolutely devoured this book. I love Jude, or Lucky. He is a supreme man for me. I love these two, their dynamic, their relationship, the way that it all came about. I loved it. It was perfect for me. Let's see, what else? Heartless by Elsie Silver was pretty perfect for me because I loved Willa. She was that like smart, sassy, badass chick, but is not hardcore badass, but she's badass in her own right, and I absolutely loved her. I love how she stands her own. She doesn't back down. It was just their whole dynamic as well. I just loved it. And then if we're going to be repetitive, we might as well just go for it, and we're going to have to say the Off Balance series. This embodies what I want in romance. The drama, the angst, the pain, the frustration, the feelings, the amazing Russian, the headstrong girl that you just want to punch in the face but hug at the same time, the amazing best friend sidekick, Avery. I absolutely love that girl. But also, like, amidst all that drama is those hidden moments with those two, and these little nuggets of just complete love and adoration, and the conversations that these two can have with just looking at each other, the connection that they have on and off the mat. It was beautiful. It was amazing. It was perfect. I loved it. I'm done. Okay. No, but really, that was it. That was the last question. That is my romance journey. This was fun. A little illuminating. Definitely makes me want to read more. But yeah, there we go. That's it. I've already said that. Let's figure out how we're going to finish this video. I don't know. We're just going to finish it. But that is going to do it for today's video, guys. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already so we can do more book tags like this. Until next time, happy reading. Bye.